The cold had teeth. Hannah Clark sat on the steel bench with her arms wrapped tight beneath her coat, breath ghosting white in the air. Snow fell in lazy spirals under the flickering overhead light, gathering on the empty platform like quiet proof that the world had moved on without her. The last bus had left an hour ago. Her phone had died 20 minutes after that. She should have been afraid. She probably was, somewhere beneath the numbness settling into her fingers and the ache behind her ribs. But fear required energy, and Hannah had learned long ago how to ration what little she had left. So, this is how I go, she thought, flexing her fingers inside her gloves. Frozen solid at a bus station, because I missed the 9:15 and my backup plan was prayer. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd spent her entire life being the preacher's daughter, the girl who showed up early, stayed late, smiled through every sermon and potluck and crisis of faith that walked through her father's church doors. She knew how to endure, how to sit still when sitting still was the only option, how to wait for rescue like it was a spiritual discipline. But tonight, rescue felt like a myth. Hannah pressed her thumb against the small silver cross hanging from her neck, cold metal biting through her glove. Her father had given it to her when she turned 16. Armor, he'd called it. Proof of what you carry. Right now, it just felt like a reminder that faith didn't warm frozen hands. The street beyond the platform was empty. No headlights, no movement, nothing but snow and silence. She'd stopped checking her phone 10 minutes ago. Dead was dead. No amount of staring at a black screen would change that. You're fine, she told herself. Someone will come eventually. A bus driver. A night shift worker. A very concerned squirrel. Her lips twitched despite everything. That was the thing about Hannah Clark. Even when the world pressed in cold and cruel, her mind kept throwing out sarcasm like a life raft. It wasn't optimism, it was survival. The sound of an engine cut through the silence. Hannah's head lifted. A car, sleek, dark red, expensive in a way that didn't belong in this part of the city, rolled to a stop at the curb. The engine idled, low and smooth. Snowflakes melted against the hood. Hannah didn't move. She'd grown up in a world of rules. Don't talk to strangers. Don't get into cars with men you don't know. Don't trust anything that looks too good to be real. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Hannah's breath caught. He was tall, over 6 feet, dressed in a black coat that fit like it had been tailored to intimidate. Dark hair, sharp jaw, the kind of face that belonged on a chessboard. A king, maybe, or the piece you didn't see coming until it was too late. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Calm, controlled. Watching. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just looked at her like he was cataloging everything, her posture, her stillness, the way her fingers pressed against the cross at her throat. Hannah stared back. Danger, her instincts whispered. Run. But her legs wouldn't move, maybe because of the cold, maybe because something in the way he stood there, patient, deliberate, made running feel pointless. He moved around the car with the kind of grace that suggested violence lived just beneath the surface. When he stopped in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his gaze, Hannah felt the air shift. You're going to freeze if you stay here, he said. His voice was quiet. No urgency, no concern. Just fact. Hannah blinked up at him. That's the plan, apparently. His mouth almost moved. Almost. Your phone's dead, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes. The last bus left an hour ago. Also, yes. And you're still sitting here. Hannah raised an eyebrow. I'm committed to bad decisions. Something flickered in his expression, too brief to name. Amusement, maybe? Or recognition? He stepped back, opening the passenger door in one smooth motion. Get in. Pause for a second. I need to ask you something. You're freezing. It's winter. Snow everywhere. No bus, no help. Then a dangerously handsome stranger pulls up and opens the door. Do you get in? Or do you let hypothermia win? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me where you're watching from, because I need to know if this story is reaching warm places or fellow cold survivors like me. Also, if you're going to survive winter, you might as well do it with good stories. Like this video and subscribe to Bella Romance Stories, because we serve Mafia romance that's warm, dangerous, and impossible to pause on cold nights like this. Hannah didn't move. Every instinct she'd ever been taught screamed at her to stay exactly where she was. Strangers were dangerous. Men who drove expensive cars and moved like predators were more dangerous. Getting into that car would be the kind of mistake people made in cautionary tales. But the cold was sharper now. Her fingers had stopped aching and started going numb. And the way he stood there, calm, deliberate, utterly unbothered by her hesitation, made something in her chest tighten. He wasn't begging, wasn't pushing. He was just waiting. This is a terrible idea, Hannah thought. She stood. Her legs protested, stiff from the cold. She gripped her bag tighter, stepped off the platform, and walked toward the car. When she reached the open door, she paused, looked up at him. "I don't know you," she said. "No," he agreed. "This is objectively the worst decision I could make right now." "Probably." Hannah laughed once, soft, incredulous. "And you're not even pretending otherwise." His gaze held hers. "I don't lie." Something about the way he said it, flat, certain, like truth was the only currency he dealt in, made Hannah's pulse trip. She slid into the passenger seat. The door closed behind her with a quiet, final click. The interior of the car was warm. Leather seats, subtle lighting, the kind of silence that felt deliberate. Hannah set her bag on her lap and watched as the man, still nameless, still impossibly calm, rounded the car and slid into the driver's seat. He didn't ask for her address. He didn't ask anything. He just pulled away from the curb, snow swirling in the car's wake. Hannah waited for him to speak, to explain, to do something that made sense of the last 5 minutes. He didn't. The city slid past the windows, empty streets, dark storefronts, the occasional streetlight cutting through the snow. Hannah's fingers thawed slowly, pins and needles creeping back into her hands. She flexed them, trying to ignore the tension coiling tighter in her chest. "Where are we going?" she asked finally. "Somewhere warm." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I'm giving right now." Hannah turned to look at him. His profile was sharp in the dim light, focused, unreadable. He drove with the kind of precision that suggested he'd done this 1,000 times. Every turn deliberate, every decision already made. "You know," Hannah said lightly, "this is usually the part in the movie where the girl realizes she's made a horrible mistake." His mouth twitched. And I'm still here." "You are. Which means either I'm very brave or very stupid." He glanced at her, just once, quick and assessing. "You're neither." Hannah frowned. "Then what am I?" He turned his attention back to the road. "Out of options." The words settled between them, quiet and true. Hannah leaned back against the seat, her heart beating steady and too fast at the same time. He wasn't wrong. She had been out of options, frozen, stranded, alone at a bus station with no way forward. But now she was in a stranger's car, driving through a city that felt too quiet, too empty, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. The man, her unlikely rescuer, said nothing, just drove. And when Hannah finally glanced out the window again, she realized something that made her stomach drop. They weren't heading toward her neighborhood. They were driving in the opposite direction. She turned sharply. "Where are you taking me?" He didn't answer. "Hey, I asked you a question." His hands remained steady on the wheel, his expression unchanged. "Somewhere safe," he said finally. "Safe from what?" He met her gaze in the rearview mirror. "From the people who wanted you on that platform tonight." The air left Hannah's lungs. And in the silence that followed, she understood with sudden, sinking clarity. He hadn't stopped for her by accident. He'd been looking for her. Hannah's fingers curled against the leather seat. "What does that mean?" Her voice came out steady. She was proud of that. "People who wanted me on that platform." Lucius, she didn't know his name yet, but she'd started calling him that in her head because unnamed rescuer felt too generous, kept his eyes on the road. "It means," he said quietly, "you were supposed to be stranded tonight." The heater hummed. Snow gathered at the edges of the windshield. Hannah's mind spun through the last 3 hours like rewinding a film. The missed bus, her phone dying exactly when she needed it, the way the platform had emptied so completely, so quickly. Coincidence. It had to be coincidence. "You're saying someone planned this?" She kept her tone light, skeptical. "Someone wanted me freezing at a bus station at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday." "Yes. That's—" Hannah stopped. Laughed once. "That's insane. I'm nobody. I teach Sunday school and organize church fundraisers. The most dangerous thing I've done this month is tell Mrs. Henderson her casserole needed more salt." Lucius's mouth didn't move, but something in his expression shifted. "Your father is Reverend Thomas Clark." It wasn't a question. Hannah went still. "How do you know that?" He turned left, smooth and deliberate. "I know a lot of things, Miss Clark." The way he said her name, formal, certain, made her skin prickle. "Like what?" "Like the fact that you take the 9:15 bus every Tuesday after evening service, that you always sit 3 rows from the back, that your phone is 5 years old and the battery dies if you use it for more than an hour." Hannah's breath caught. "You've been watching me." "I've been making sure no one else does." The distinction should have mattered. It didn't. Her pulse hammered against her ribs. She turned toward him fully now, searching his profile for something. Guilt, hesitation, anything human. She found nothing. "Why?" "Because your father made a mistake," Lucius said. "And mistakes have consequences." Hannah's throat tightened. "What kind of mistake?" He didn't answer. The car slowed, pulling into a narrow side street Hannah didn't recognize. Buildings rose on either side. Old brick, small businesses shuttered for the night. A cafe sat on the corner, warm light spilling through fogged windows. Lucius parked. "We're stopping?" Hannah asked. "Briefly." "For what?" He finally looked at her. Really looked. His eyes were dark, brown, she thought, though the shadows made it hard to tell. There was something deliberate in the way he held her gaze, like he was deciding how much truth she could handle. "To see if anyone followed us," he said. Hannah's stomach dropped. "You think someone's following us?" "I know someone was waiting for you at that station." "But—" She stopped. Started again. "If they were waiting, why didn't they—" "Because I got there first." The simplicity of it landed like a punch. Hannah pressed her palms against her knees, steadying herself. "This isn't real. This doesn't happen to people like me," but the cold bite of fear in her chest felt real enough. "So what now?" she asked. "We sit here and wait for— what? Someone to drive by waving a sign that says, 'Bad guy'?" Lucius almost smiled. Almost. Something like that. He reached into his coat and pulled out his phone, tapped the screen once, set it on the dashboard where she could see. The screen showed a live map, their location marked in blue, 2 other dots, red, moving slowly along the street they'd just left. Hannah stared. "What is that?" "Surveillance." "Whose?" "Mine." Her pulse kicked. "You have people watching me." "I have people watching the people watching you." The logic was dizzying. Hannah laughed, sharp, disbelieving. "This is absurd. I'm a preacher's daughter. I don't have enemies." "Your father does." The words hung in the air, cold and immovable. Hannah wanted to argue, wanted to insist her father was a man of faith, a man of peace, someone who spent his life helping others. But something in Lucius's expression stopped her. He wasn't guessing. He knew. "What did he do?" she asked quietly. Lucius tilted his head slightly. You don't know. It wasn't a question. No. He studied her for a long moment. Then he looked away, gaze flicking to the phone. The red dots had stopped moving. 1 block away, close enough to be a problem. Stay here, Lucius said. He opened the door. Hannah grabbed his arm without thinking. Wait. He looked down at her hand, then at her face. She pulled back immediately. You're leaving me alone in the car, she said. For 2 minutes. What if no one will touch you? His voice was quiet, absolute. I promise. And then he was gone. Hannah watched him cross the street. He moved with the kind of calm that made everyone else look frantic. A man passed him on the sidewalk, hood up, shoulders hunched, and didn't even glance his way. Lucius barely seemed to notice him either, but Hannah did. She saw the way the man's steps slowed, the way his hand moved toward his pocket, the way his head turned, just slightly, toward the car. Her breath stopped. Lucius kept walking. The hooded man stopped entirely, and then, so fast Hannah almost missed it, Lucius turned, took 3 steps back, said something too quiet for Hannah to hear through the glass. The man froze. Lucius didn't raise his voice, didn't touch him. Just stood there, hands loose at his sides, expression unreadable. The man nodded once, then walked away quickly, disappearing around the corner like he'd been dismissed. Hannah exhaled shakily. Lucius returned to the car, slid into the driver's seat, and started the engine like nothing had happened. What was that? Hannah asked. A message. To who? To anyone paying attention. He pulled back onto the main road. Snow fell heavier now, thick enough to blur the streetlights. Hannah pressed her hands together, trying to stop the shaking. You didn't hurt him. I didn't need to. But you could have. Lucius didn't deny it. Hannah leaned back against the seat, her mind spinning. Everything about this felt wrong. The surveillance, the threats, the way Lucius moved through danger like it was weather. But he'd also kept his promise. No one had touched her. Where are we going now? She asked. Somewhere you'll be safe. My apartment is not safe. You don't know where I live. He glanced at her. 7-14, Ashwood, 3rd floor, corner unit, locks broken on the back entrance. Hannah's blood went cold. How? I told you, Miss Clark. I know things. Stop calling me that. His eyebrow lifted slightly. What should I call you? Hannah. Her voice came out sharper than she meant. And I need to go home. I have work tomorrow. You can't go home. His tone didn't change, still calm, still certain. Not tonight. That's not your decision. It is now. Hannah stared at him. You can't just... I can. He met her gaze briefly before returning his attention to the road. And I am. The finality of it settled over her like the snow outside, heavy, inescapable. What if I say no? Hannah asked quietly. Lucius's hands tightened on the wheel, barely, but she saw it. Then you go home, he said, and tomorrow I attend your funeral. The words cut clean through her defenses. Hannah opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. You can't be serious. I don't joke about death, Hannah. The use of her name felt intentional, deliberate. She looked out the window at the blurred city. Her city. The one she'd grown up in, the one she thought she knew. I don't understand what's happening, she whispered. I know. I don't know you. Not yet. This is insane. Yes. Hannah laughed, broken, disbelieving. And I'm supposed to just trust you? Lucius was quiet for a long moment. Then, you got in the car, didn't you? She had. She really, really had. And now, sitting in the warmth, watching snow fall beyond the windows, feeling the weight of his certainty pressing against her fear, Hannah realized something terrifying. She couldn't go back. Whatever line she'd crossed at that bus station, there was no uncrossing it. "Where are we going?" she asked again. Lucius turned onto a private drive, tall gates, security cameras, buildings that cost more than Hannah's entire life. "My home," he said simply. And Hannah understood, with sudden sinking clarity, that tonight had changed everything. The penthouse was exactly what Hannah expected, and nothing like she'd imagined. Clean lines, dark wood, floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked a city she barely recognized from this height. Everything was precise. The furniture, the lighting, the way the silence sat heavy and deliberate in every corner. It felt like a place designed to intimidate, or to hide. "Guest room is down the hall," Lucius said, shrugging out of his coat. "Second door on the left." Hannah stood just inside the entrance, still clutching her bag. Snow melted from her boots onto marble that probably cost more than her annual salary. "I can't stay here." "You are staying here." "I have a job, responsibilities. People will notice if I'll handle it." Hannah's jaw tightened. "You can't just handle my entire life." Lucius hung his coat with the same deliberate precision he seemed to apply to everything. Then he turned to face her fully. "Would you prefer I handle your funeral instead?" The words were quiet, blunt, devastating. Hannah looked away first. "That's not fair," she muttered. "No," he agreed. "But it's true." He moved past her toward the kitchen. Open concept, slate counters, nothing out of place. Hannah watched him fill a glass with water, his movements efficient and unbothered, like kidnapping a stranger was just another Tuesday. "You know," Hannah said, "for someone claiming to protect me, you're really leaning into the ominous captor aesthetic." His mouth almost twitched. "Would you prefer I be more welcoming?" "I'd prefer to understand what's happening. Tomorrow." "Why not now?" "Because," Lucius said, setting the glass on the counter, "you need sleep more than you need answers." Hannah laughed, sharp and incredulous. "You think I'm going to sleep after tonight?" "Eventually." "You're infuriating." "Yes." She wanted to argue more, wanted to demand explanations, exits, some semblance of control. But exhaustion was creeping in at the edges, bone deep and relentless. The adrenaline that had carried her through the last 2 hours was burning out. Lucius gestured toward the hallway. "Guest room, bathroom attached. Anything you need should be there." "And if I try to leave?" His gaze held hers. "You won't make it to the elevator. Because you'll stop me? Because the men watching this building will assume you're a threat." The casual certainty of it made her stomach twist. "To you?" Hannah asked quietly. "To themselves." She didn't know what to do with that answer. Lucius moved past her again, this time toward a door she hadn't noticed. Dark wood, blending seamlessly into the wall. An office, maybe. Somewhere private. "Get some rest, Hannah." "What are you going to do?" He paused, hand on the doorframe. "Make sure you wake up tomorrow." Then he was gone. The guest room was immaculate. King bed, soft lighting, a window that overlooked the city but didn't open. Hannah checked. Twice. The bathroom had toiletries still in packaging, toothbrush, soap, shampoo, like someone had anticipated her arrival, prepared for it. "He knew I'd end up here," she thought. He planned this. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it just made her tired. Hannah changed into the oversized t-shirt she found folded in the dresser, gray, clean, probably Lucius's. She tried not to think about that too hard. She lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Her phone was still dead. No way to call anyone, no way to explain where she was or why she wasn't home. Her father would worry. The thought twisted something in her chest. Her father, Reverend Thomas Clark, who'd spent his life preaching about protection and providence, who'd told her 1,000 times that faith was armor. Your father made a mistake. Lucius's words echoed in the quiet. Hannah pressed her palm against her eyes. What did you do, Dad? Sleep felt impossible, but somehow eventually. It found her anyway. She woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. For one disoriented moment, Hannah thought she was home. Then she saw the unfamiliar ceiling, the too expensive sheets, the window overlooking a city that looked different in daylight. Reality crashed back. She sat up slowly, her body stiff from tension she'd carried even in sleep. Voices drifted from somewhere beyond the bedroom door. Low. Controlled. One she recognized. Hannah stood, pulled on her jeans from yesterday, and opened the door carefully. The hallway was empty, but the voices grew clearer. Not a permanent solution. It doesn't need to be permanent, just long enough. And if they escalate, they won't. Hannah followed the sound to the main living area. Lucius stood near the windows, phone pressed to his ear. He'd changed, dark shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, still precise, still controlled. He noticed her immediately. Their eyes met. He said something quiet into the phone and ended the call. "Coffee?" he asked. Hannah crossed her arms. "Answers." "Coffee first." "I'm not a child." "No," Lucius agreed, moving toward the kitchen. "But you're running on 4 hours of sleep and adrenaline. Humor me." He poured a cup, black, and slid it across the counter toward her. Hannah took it. Didn't drink. "Who were you talking to?" "Someone handling your absence." "My absence?" "You called in sick," Lucius said calmly. "Food poisoning. You'll be back Monday." Hannah stared. "You can't just—" "I already did." "That's—" She stopped, breathed. "I don't even know your name." Something flickered in his expression. Lucius de Rose. The name settled between them. Heavy. Italian. Familiar in a way that made Hannah's instincts prickle. "De Rose," she repeated slowly. "I've heard that name." "Probably." "Why?" Lucius leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching her with that same deliberate attention that made her feel catalogued. "Because I own half this city." The coffee cup felt suddenly fragile in her hands. "Own," Hannah said carefully. "Not manage, not invest in. Own." "Yes." "And the other half?" "Is owned by people who would prefer I didn't exist." Hannah set the cup down. Her hands were shaking. "What does that make you?" Lucius held her gaze. "Dangerous." The honesty of it cut through every polite deflection she'd expected. "And my father." Her voice came out quieter than she meant. "What does that make him?" "Indebted." The word landed like a stone. Hannah's chest tightened. "To who?" "To people I've spent the last 6 months keeping away from him." "Why?" "Because he asked me to." Hannah's mind spun. Her father, her gentle, faithful father who preached forgiveness and sacrifice, had asked a man like Lucius de Rose for help. When? How? "I don't believe you," she said. Lucius pulled his phone from his pocket, tapped the screen, turned it toward her. A photo. Recent. Her father standing outside the church talking to a man Hannah didn't recognize. The timestamp read 3 months ago. "He came to me," Lucius said quietly. "Not the other way around." Hannah stared at the image, at her father's expression, worried, desperate, nothing like the calm assurance he wore every Sunday. What did he want? Protection. From what? Lucius's jaw tightened. From the consequences of trying to save people who didn't want to be saved. Before Hannah could respond, a sound cut through the quiet, sharp, insistent. A phone ringing. Not Lucius's. He moved immediately, fluid, controlled, toward the office door she'd seen last night. Returned seconds later with a cell phone Hannah didn't recognize. "Yours was compromised," he said, handing it to her. "This one isn't." The screen showed an incoming call. No name, just a number. Hannah's throat tightened. "Who is it?" Lucius's expression went carefully blank. "Your father." Everything stopped. Hannah took the phone with trembling hands, pressed answer, lifted it to her ear. Dad? Her father's voice came through, strained, rough. Hannah, thank God. Are you safe? Yes, I think so. Where are you? Listen to me carefully. His words came fast, urgent. Stay with Lucius. Do exactly what he tells you. Don't come home. Don't try to find me. Do you understand? Hannah's vision blurred. Dad, what's happening? I made mistakes, sweetheart. Terrible mistakes. And now… His voice broke. Now you're paying for them. What mistakes? What did you… Lucius will explain. Trust him, please. The line went dead. Hannah stood frozen, phone pressed to her ear, her father's words echoing in the sudden silence. Trust him. She lowered the phone slowly, looked at Lucius. He was watching her with something that might have been sympathy or resignation. What did my father do? Hannah whispered. Lucius crossed to his office door, opened it, gestured for her to follow. Hannah's legs moved automatically. The office was darker than the rest of the penthouse. One wall lined with monitors showing security feeds, a desk covered in files, and on that desk, a folder, plain manila. Her father's name typed across the tab in neat black letters. Thomas Clark, St. Mary's Parish, debt acquisition, active. Hannah's hands went numb. He didn't just ask for protection, Lucius said quietly behind her. He asked me to clean up a debt he couldn't pay. A debt to who? Lucius stepped past her, opened the folder. Inside were bank statements, wire transfers, names Hannah didn't recognize, and at the bottom, a photo. Her father, younger, standing with men in expensive suits outside a building Hannah had never seen. Beneath the photo, handwritten in red ink, money laundering, Marchetti family, $340,000 unaccounted. The room tilted. Hannah gripped the edge of the desk. No. He thought he could use their money for good, Lucius said, thought charity would absolve the source. My father would never… Your father is human, Hannah. His voice was gentle, devastatingly so. And humans make choices they regret. Hannah's vision swam, the perfect preacher, the man of faith, the father who taught her that goodness was a choice. He lied. No, worse, he borrowed from monsters and tried to pray it away. The Marchetti family, Hannah whispered. Who are they? Lucius's expression went cold. The people who wanted you at that bus station last night. Everything clicked into place. The missed bus, the dead phone, the empty platform. She wasn't collateral. She was payment. They were going to take me, Hannah said numbly. Yes. To get to him. Yes. And you, her voice broke. You stopped them. I did. Hannah looked up at him, at this dangerous, controlled man who'd pulled her out of the cold, not because he was kind, but because her father had made him responsible. He sold me to you, she whispered. Lucius's jaw tightened. He asked me to keep you alive. What's the difference? He didn't answer. And in the silence that followed, Hannah understood with terrible clarity. There wasn't one. Hannah didn't cry. She stood in Lucius's office staring at the folder with her father's name on it and felt something harder than tears crystallize in her chest. Anger, maybe, or betrayal, or the kind of clarity that comes when the world you thought you knew fractures clean down the middle. How long have you known? Her voice came out flat, controlled. Lucius closed the folder carefully. 6 months. And you didn't think to warn me? Your father asked me not to. Hannah laughed, sharp, bitter. Of course he did. She turned away from the desk, arms wrapped tight around herself. The monitors on the wall showed various angles of the building, security feeds, evidence of a world she'd never suspected existed. Tell me everything, she said. I want to know exactly what he did. Lucius was quiet for a moment. Then, sit. I'm fine standing. Hannah, tell me. He studied her face. Whatever he saw there made him nod. 8 years ago, Lucius began. "Your father was approached by a man named Vincent Marchetti. Marchetti needed his cash legitimized, run through charitable organizations, cleaned, redistributed. Your father's church was small, growing, perfect." Hannah's nails bit into her palms. "My father said no. Initially." Lucius leaned against the desk. "But Marchetti was persuasive. He offered funding for your father's outreach programs, new shelter, food banks, everything your father had been praying for. And my father took it. He thought he could control it, use dirty money for clean purposes, convince himself that good intentions sanctified the source." Hannah closed her eyes. She could see it so clearly. Her father, earnest and desperate, believing he could outmaneuver evil with faith. "How much?" she asked. 340,000 over 2 years. The number felt obscene. "And then your father's conscience caught up with him." Lucius's voice remained steady, clinical. "He tried to return the money, tried to cut ties, but the Marchettis don't accept resignations. So they threatened him. They reminded him that debt doesn't disappear just because you regret it." Hannah opened her eyes. "That's when he came to you." "Yes." "Why you?" Something flickered across Lucius's expression. "Because the Marchettis and I have competing interests in this city. Your father thought if he aligned himself with me, they'd back off. Did they? For a while." The way he said it made Hannah's stomach drop. "What changed?" Lucius pushed off the desk, walked to the monitors. 3 weeks ago, Marchetti's son, Carlo, was arrested. Federal charges, money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy. They're building a case, and they need someone to blame who isn't family." Understanding crashed over her. "My father. He's the perfect scapegoat, legitimate, trusted, a preacher who got greedy." "But he wasn't greedy," Hannah said sharply. "He was trying to help people. That won't matter in court." The truth of it settled like ash in her mouth. Hannah moved to the window, looked out at the city, bright and clean in the daylight, hiding so much darkness underneath. "My whole life," she said quietly, "my father told me that faith was protection, that if we lived right, did good, God would shield us from evil." Lucius said nothing. "I believed him." She pressed her palm against the glass. "I organized bake sales and taught Sunday school, and smiled at everyone because I thought goodness was a currency that actually mattered. It does." She turned sharply. "Does it? Because from where I'm standing it looks like goodness just made my father a target and me collateral damage." Lucius held her gaze. "Your father's faith isn't what failed him, Hannah. His judgment did. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes." The certainty in his voice made something in her chest crack. "You sound like you believe that," she said. "I do." "Why? You're—" she gestured vaguely. "You're not exactly a man of faith." His mouth curved slightly, almost sad. "I'm a man who understands that faith and foolishness aren't the same thing." Hannah wanted to argue, wanted to defend her father. Her upbringing, the life she'd built around belief. But standing here, in this office, surrounded by evidence of her father's choices, she couldn't find the words. "What happens now?" she asked instead. "Now I keep you away from the Marchettis until this resolves." "For how long?" "As long as it takes." "And my father?" Lucius's expression went carefully neutral. "Your father made his choices." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Hannah's hands curled into fists. "I need to see him." "No. He's my father." "He's a man who put you in danger." Lucius's voice remained quiet, firm. "Seeing him now won't change that." "I don't care. I need to—" "What you need," Lucius interrupted, "is to stay alive. Everything else is secondary." The bluntness of it hit like cold water. Hannah stared at him. At this man who'd pulled her from a bus station, brought her to his home, laid out her father's sins with surgical precision. You don't pull your punches, do you? She said. No. Even when it would be kinder. Kindness doesn't keep you safe. And you do? His eyes held hers. Yes. The single word carried absolute conviction. Hannah should have been afraid, should have run from this stranger who spoke about protection like ownership and watched her like she was something precious and breakable. Instead, she felt the strangest sense of relief, because Lucius DeRose didn't lie, didn't soften, didn't pretend the world was anything other than what it was. Dangerous, complicated, real. How long have I been here? She asked. 14 hours. Feels longer? Yes. Hannah looked back at the folder, her father's name. The evidence of his failure. I don't know who I'm supposed to be angry at, she admitted quietly. Him for lying, them for threatening, you for… She stopped. For what? For being right. Lucius's expression softened almost imperceptibly. You're allowed to be angry at all of us. Even you. Especially me. Before Hannah could respond, Lucius's phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen. His entire posture shifted. What? Hannah asked immediately. He looked up. His eyes had gone cold, calculating. Lucius, what? Get away from the window. Why, now, Hannah. The command in his voice moved her before conscious thought could. She stepped back just as Lucius crossed to her, positioning himself between her and the glass. His phone buzzed again, and again. He answered. Talk to me. Hannah couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched Lucius's face, the way his jaw tightened, the subtle tension in his shoulders. When? He asked quietly. A pause. And the authorization? Another pause. Longer this time. Understood. He ended the call. Hannah's heart hammered against her ribs. What's happening? Lucius turned to face her. His expression was controlled. Absolute. The Marchettis just issued a contract, he said. A contract for what? His eyes held hers. A hit on your father, authorized an hour ago. The words didn't make sense at first, then they did. All at once. Hannah's knees went weak. When? They didn't specify. Can you stop it? I can try. That's not good enough. It's all I have. Hannah pressed her palms against her eyes. Breathing felt impossible. Her father, flawed, foolish, lying, was going to die because he'd tried to do good with bad money. There's more, Lucius said quietly. She looked up. What? The contract includes a secondary target. Hannah's blood went cold. Me. Lucius didn't answer. He didn't need to. Lucius made 3 phone calls in under 5 minutes. Hannah watched from the doorway of his office as he moved. Precise, controlled, every word deliberate. He didn't pace, didn't raise his voice, just spoke with the kind of quiet authority that made people listen. Double the perimeter. No, I don't care about the cost. Yes, both locations. And Marco, if anyone gets within 100 feet of St. Mary's, I want to know before they take their next breath. He ended the call. Started another immediately. Hannah's hands were still shaking. A hit on your father. Secondary target. The words kept replaying in her mind like a song she couldn't turn off. Clinical language for something brutal. Her father, dead. Herself, collateral. How long? She asked quietly. Lucius glanced up. How long what? Until they move. He set his phone down. Could be hours, could be days. Marchetti likes to make people wait. Psychological warfare. Yes. Hannah wrapped her arms around herself. And my father, does he know? I'm having someone inform him now. Someone you trust? Lucius's expression softened almost imperceptibly. No one gets close to your father without going through me first. The certainty in his voice should have felt arrogant. Instead, it felt like the only solid ground in a world that had tilted sideways. What about me? Hannah asked. Do I just wait here? For now. For how long? As long as necessary. She laughed, brittle, exhausted. You keep saying that. As long as necessary. Like time doesn't matter. Like I don't have a life outside this. She gestured vaguely at the office, the monitors, the evidence of danger she couldn't see but knew was circling. Outside this. Lucius crossed to her, stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. You're right, he said quietly. You do have a life, and I'm going to make sure you get to keep it. The intensity of his gaze made her breath catch. Why? The question came out softer than she meant. Why does this matter to you? He studied her face for a long moment. Because your father asked. No. Hannah shook her head. That's not it. Not anymore. You're not just fulfilling an obligation. I can see it in the way you... She stopped, started again. You look at me like I'm something you can't afford to lose. Lucius's jaw tightened. I'm right, aren't I? Hannah pressed. Yes. The admission landed between them. Simple, devastating, true. Hannah's pulse kicked. Since when? Since you made a joke about trusting strangers being a terrible life choice and got in my car anyway. Something in her chest cracked open. That was brave, Lucius continued, voice low. Or reckless. I haven't decided which. But I knew then, watching you choose possible danger over certain cold, that you were the kind of person worth protecting. Hannah's throat tightened. I'm not special. You're wrong. I'm the preacher's daughter who organized bake sales. You're a woman who uses humor as armor and sits through fear without breaking. His eyes held hers. That's not ordinary, Hannah. The way he said her name, deliberate, like tasting something rare, made heat crawl up her spine. She should step back, put distance between them. Remind herself that Lucius DeRose was a dangerous man in a dangerous world, and whatever this feeling was, it couldn't lead anywhere good. Instead, she stayed exactly where she was. You barely know me, she whispered. I know enough. Like what? Like the fact that you're still standing here when most people would have run. His gaze drifted to her mouth, then back. Like the fact that you're angry at your father, but you'd still protect him if you could. Like the fact that you don't trust me, but you want to. Hannah's breath stuttered. You're very observant. It's how I stay alive. Is that all this is? Observation? Lucius leaned closer, just slightly, not enough to touch, just enough that she could feel the shift in air between them. No, he said quietly. The confession hung there, heavy, dangerous. Hannah knew she should say something, deflect, make a dry comment about Stockholm Syndrome or power dynamics or any of the 1,000 logical reasons why this, whatever this was, couldn't happen. But her voice had stopped working. Lucius pulled back first, turned toward the monitors. You should eat something. The abrupt shift felt like whiplash. Hannah exhaled shakily. Just like that? Just like that. You're going to confess that I matter to you and then suggest breakfast? His mouth almost curved. Lunch? It's past noon. Lucius? I don't do this well, he interrupted, still not looking at her. Emotional honesty, vulnerability. I'm much better at strategy and containment and keeping people alive through careful planning. And what about keeping them close? He turned then, met her eyes. I don't let people close, Hannah. It's a liability. But you're already here. His voice dropped. And I don't want you to leave. The admission felt like something torn from him. Hannah crossed the space between them, stopped within arm's reach. I'm not going anywhere, she said quietly. Not because I can't. Because I don't want to. Lucius's expression shifted, surprise maybe, or something closer to relief. That's a mistake, he said. Probably. I'm dangerous. I know. And inconvenient. Hannah smiled despite everything. Extremely. So why stay? She thought about the cold bus station, the warmth of his car, the way he'd looked at her like she was worth saving before he even knew her name. "Because you showed up when I was freezing," Hannah said simply. "And you haven't stopped showing up since." Lucius's hand moved, almost unconsciously, like he was going to reach for her, then stopped, curled into a fist at his side. "If I touch you right now," he said quietly, "I won't stop at comfort." Heat flooded her chest. "Then don't touch me yet." "Yet?" "I'm practical, not stupid. We have bigger problems than whatever this is." Something like admiration flickered in his eyes. "You're very rational for someone whose life just imploded." "I've had good practice compartmentalizing." "Preacher's daughter training?" "Something like that." The moment stretched between them, charged, careful, full of things neither of them said. Then Lucius's phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression went cold. "What?" Hannah asked immediately. "Your father." He looked up. "He's refusing protective custody." Hannah's stomach dropped. "What? Why?" "He says he won't hide while you're in danger." "That's—" She stopped, breathed. "That's suicide." "Yes? Can you force him?" "Not legally." "Illegally?" Lucius almost smiled. "I could, but he'd fight me, and that would create more problems than it solves." Hannah pressed her palms against her temples. "He's going to get himself killed out of guilt." "Probably. You have to stop him." "I'm trying. Try harder." "Hannah." Lucius's voice cut through her panic. Calm, steady. "I will do everything I can to keep your father alive, but I won't sacrifice you to do it." The words hit like a physical blow. "You're choosing," Hannah whispered, "between me and him." "I already chose." "When?" "The moment I opened the car door at that bus station." Hannah's vision blurred. She turned away, pressing her hand against her mouth. Her father, flawed, foolish, still her father. And Lucius, this stranger who'd become something more, was willing to let him die to keep her safe. "I can't accept that," she said. "You don't have to accept it, but it's the truth." "There has to be another way." Lucius's phone buzzed again, multiple times in quick succession. He answered immediately. "Talk." Hannah watched his face, watched the subtle shifts, tension in his jaw, the way his eyes narrowed. "When?" he asked quietly. Pause. "Location confirmed?" Another pause. Longer. "Understood. Keep the line open." He lowered the phone but didn't end the call. Looked at Hannah with an expression that made her blood run cold. "What?" she asked. "The hit's been moved up." "To when?" "Tonight." Hannah's knees went weak. "And my father is still at the church, alone, refusing to leave." "Then go get him." "I can't." "Why not?" Lucius's eyes held hers. "Because the secondary target just became primary." It took a moment for the words to register. When they did, Hannah felt the floor tilt. "Me," she whispered. "You." "But why would they?" "Because killing you destroys your father more completely than killing him ever would." The logic was brutal, efficient, exactly the kind of cruelty Hannah had spent her whole life believing didn't exist. "So what now?" Her voice came out hollow. Lucius moved toward her, close enough to touch but still maintaining that deliberate distance. "Now," he said quietly, "I make sure they never get the chance." "How?" "By doing what I do best." "Which is?" His eyes went dark. "Dangerous. Eliminating threats before they become problems." Hannah's heart hammered. "You mean killing them?" "If necessary." "Lucius, this isn't a negotiation, Hannah." His voice remained calm. "Absolute. Someone put a price on your life. That ends tonight." "I don't want blood on my hands." "Then don't watch." The bluntness of it stole her breath. But before she could respond, before she could beg him to find another way, his phone erupted with sound. Alarms, multiple feeds, red flashing across the monitors. Lucius's entire body went rigid. "What's happening?" Hannah asked. He was already moving, pulling open a drawer, removing something dark and metallic that made Hannah's stomach twist. A gun. "Lucius! What's happening?" He looked at her. His expression was the calmest she'd ever seen it. "They're already here. Stay behind me." Lucius's voice was calm, too calm. Hannah's pulse hammered in her throat as she watched him check the gun with practiced efficiency, slide, chamber, safety, movements she'd only seen in movies. "How many?" she asked. "2 in the lobby, 1 on the stairwell." He moved toward the monitors. "They're testing response time." "Testing?" Hannah's breath caught. "You mean this isn't the actual attack?" "No." His eyes tracked the screens. "This is reconnaissance. They want to see how quickly I mobilize. And when they find out? They'll come back with more men." The matter-of-fact delivery made it worse somehow. Hannah watched the monitors. 3 figures moving through the building. Casual, unhurried. One stopped to check his phone. Another laughed at something. They looked normal, human. "What are you going to do?" she asked quietly. Lucius pressed something on his phone. The alarm stopped. "Send a message." "What kind of message?" He looked at her. "The kind that makes them reconsider their contract." Hannah's stomach twisted. "You mean kill them?" "I mean make it expensive to keep trying." "That's the same thing." "Not always." She crossed to him, grabbed his arm before he could move toward the door. "Wait." Lucius went still. "Hannah, there has to be another way." "There isn't." "You don't know that? I've been doing this for 15 years. His voice remained quiet, patient. "I know exactly what works and what doesn't." "Violence works?" "Violence is a language. Sometimes it's the only one people understand." Hannah's grip tightened. "I don't want you to kill for me." Something flickered in his expression. "Then what do you want?" "I want—" She stopped, breathed. "I want to find a way that doesn't cost you your soul." Lucius's jaw tightened. "My soul isn't your concern." "Yes, it is." "Why?" "Because I'm starting to care about what happens to it." The confession hung between them, raw, unexpected. Lucius stared at her. "You've known me for 2 days. I know. I'm not a good man, Hannah." "I know that too." "Then why—" "Because good men don't open car doors for freezing strangers." Her voice cracked. "They don't sacrifice their resources and time and safety for someone else's mistake. They don't look at the preacher's daughter like she's worth protecting even when logic says she isn't." Lucius's free hand moved, slow, deliberate, to cover hers where it gripped his arm. "You think I'm better than I am," he said quietly. "I think you're exactly who you are, and I don't want that person to become someone worse because of me." His thumb brushed across her knuckles. "Once. Gentle." "If I don't stop this," Lucius said, "they'll keep coming, not just tonight, every night until they succeed. Then stop them without killing them. That's not how this works. Make it work." Hannah's voice turned fierce. "You said you're good at strategy, so strategize. Find a way that doesn't end with blood." Lucius studied her face, searching for something. "You realize what you're asking?" he said finally. "Yes. It will cost me influence, respect, fear. I know. People will see it as weakness." "Let them." His eyes darkened. "Hannah, I'm not asking you to be weak." She stepped closer. "I'm asking you to be strong enough to choose a different way." The words settled between them. Lucius's phone buzzed. The monitors showed the 3 men retreating. Mission accomplished. Message sent. He looked at the screens, then at Hannah. "If I do this your way," he said quietly, "there's no going back. My reputation takes the hit. My position weakens. Other families will test me. And if you do it your way, I maintain power through fear." And lose yourself in the process? Lucius's expression went carefully neutral. I lost myself a long time ago. I don't believe that. You should. Well, I don't. Hannah released his arm, stepped back. Because the man I've seen these past 2 days isn't lost. He's just convinced himself that being found is too dangerous. Lucius looked at her for a long moment. Then he holstered the gun. You're either very brave, he said, or very naive. Can't I be both? His mouth almost curved, apparently. He turned back to the monitors, made a call. Change of protocol. I want them followed, not engaged. Yes, I'm sure. No, I don't need to explain. Just do it. Hannah released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Lucius set his phone down. We still have to deal with the contract, and I just showed mercy to people who won't return it. So what happens now? Now I make a different kind of call. He pulled up a contact, hesitated. Hannah moved closer. Who is that? Dominic Marchetti, Carlo's uncle, head of the family while Carlo's in custody. You're calling them directly? I'm requesting a sit-down. Is that normal? No. Lucius's jaw tightened. It's a sign of weakness. Negotiation instead of retaliation. Every family in this city will hear about it by morning. Hannah's chest constricted. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He looked at her. Because you asked? And because. He stopped. Because what? Because you matter more than my reputation. The admission hung there. Simple. Devastating. Before Hannah could respond, Lucius made the call. It rang twice before someone answered. This is DeRose, Lucius said. I'm calling about the Clark contract. I want a meeting. Tonight. Neutral ground. He paused. Yes, I understand what I'm asking. No, this isn't a negotiation about terms. It's a negotiation about cancellation. Hannah heard shouting on the other end. Lucius's expression remained calm. I'm aware of the precedent, he said quietly, and I'm aware of what this costs me. But the contract ends tonight, Dominic, one way or another. The question is whether it ends with conversation or consequences. More shouting. I'll be at the warehouse on 5th, midnight. Come alone or don't come at all. He ended the call. Hannah stared at him. What did you just do? Gambled my entire position on the hope that Marchetti values negotiation more than blood. And if he doesn't? Then I showed weakness to every family watching, and they'll move against me within the week. Hannah's hands trembled. This is because I asked you not to kill them. Yes, Lucius, don't apologize. His voice was firm. I made a choice. It's done. But your power is meaningless if I lose who I am to keep it. The words hit her like a physical blow. Hannah realized then, truly understood, what he'd just sacrificed. Not just influence or respect, but the very foundation of how he'd survived in this world, and he'd done it because she'd asked, because she mattered to him. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Lucius stepped closer, lifted his hand, hesitated. Then he cupped her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything she knew about him. Don't say anything, he said quietly. Just don't regret asking me to be better. I won't. You might, when you see the cost. I won't, Hannah repeated. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Once. Barely. Then he pulled back, turned toward his phone. 3 messages had come through while they'd been talking. Lucius read them. His entire posture shifted. What? Hannah asked. He looked up. His expression was carefully controlled. Dangerously so. 2 rival families just moved shipments into the city. Unannounced. Uncleared. What does that mean? It means word spread fast. His jaw tightened. They're testing me. Seeing if I'll enforce territory or back down. Because you called for a meeting instead of retaliating. Yes. Hannah's blood ran cold. How many families? So far? 2. But more will follow once they confirm I'm vulnerable. What do we do? Lucius's eyes met hers. Dark. Dangerous. We pray your father's faith was right, he said quietly, because I'm about to need a miracle. His phone buzzed again, then again, and again. The monitors lit up with alerts, multiple locations, multiple movements. Lucius's expression went cold. They're not waiting, he said. For what? He looked at her, and in his eyes, Hannah saw something she hadn't seen before. Fear. For me to recover, Lucius said quietly. They're moving now. While I'm weak. How many? All of them. The warehouse on 5th was empty when they arrived. Too empty. Hannah felt it the moment Lucius's car pulled into the shadows, the wrongness of silence where danger should announce itself. Something's off, she said quietly. Lucius's hands remained steady on the wheel. Yes. Should we leave? No. He shifted into park but didn't kill the engine. They want me to see this. See what? He nodded toward the warehouse entrance. A single light burned above the door. Beneath it, spray-painted in red, a message. DeRosa bleeds tonight. Hannah's stomach dropped. That's not Marchetti. No. Lucius's voice was calm. Too calm. That's Constantine, Russian family. They've been waiting for an opening like this for 2 years. An opening you gave them by choosing negotiation. Yes. The guilt hit her like a fist. This is my fault. This was always coming. Lucius finally looked at her. I just accelerated the timeline. Before Hannah could respond, headlights cut through the darkness behind them. Then more. 4 cars. 6. Surrounding them in a loose semicircle. Lucius's jaw tightened. How bad? Hannah asked. Very. What do we do? You stay in the car, doors locked, engine running. If anything happens to me, you drive straight to the address programmed in the GPS. Lucius? No arguments, Hannah. His voice turned sharp. This is the cost I mentioned, and I pay it alone. He reached for the door handle. Hannah grabbed his arm. Wait. I don't have time. Then make time. She held his gaze. 2 days ago, you told me I wasn't replaceable, that protection wasn't neutral anymore. So don't you dare walk out there and get yourself killed thinking I'll just drive away and forget. Something flickered in his expression. I'm not planning to die. But you're planning to sacrifice yourself if necessary. That's different. Not to me. Lucius studied her face. You've known me for... Stop. Hannah's grip tightened. Stop telling me how long I've known you. Time doesn't matter when someone shows you exactly who they are, and you've shown me, over and over, that you're someone worth keeping alive. His free hand moved to cover hers. If I don't go out there, they come in here, to you. Then I come with you. Absolutely not. You don't get to decide that. Actually, I do. Based on what? Hannah's voice turned fierce. Your authority? Your power? The same power that's currently slipping because you chose me over violence? If that's gone, Lucius, then so is your right to lock me in this car like a child. His eyes darkened. You want to walk into a hostile situation with armed men who have every reason to hurt you just to prove a point? I want to stand beside the person who stood beside me. She released his arm. So yes, that's exactly what I want. Lucius stared at her. You're insane. Probably. This isn't romantic, Hannah. It's suicide. Then we die together. That's not... He stopped, breathed. You're the preacher's daughter. You're supposed to value life. I do. Hannah's voice softened. Yours especially. The confession hung between them. Outside, car doors opened. Men stepped out, shadows with sharp edges. Waiting. Lucius closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, something had shifted. If you come, he said quietly, you follow every instruction I give, immediately, without question. Agreed. And if I tell you to run, I won't. Hannah, I won't. She met his gaze. So, don't ask me to. He looked at her for a long moment. then nodded once. "Stay close," he said. They stepped out of the car together. The men formed a loose circle, 8 that Hannah could see, maybe more in the shadows. One stepped forward, tall, blonde, expensive suit that didn't hide the violence underneath. "DeRose," he said, accent thick, Russian. "You bring date to negotiation?" "She's under my protection," Lucius replied. His voice carried despite its quietness. "Touch her, and the truce I'm offering disappears." "Truce?" The man laughed. "You call meeting with Marchetti a truce? We call it weakness. Interpretation is subjective. Power is not." The man's eyes shifted to Hannah, lingered. "Pretty thing. Preacher's daughter, yes? We hear about her. About contract. About you choosing her over business." Lucius moved slightly, barely noticeable, but suddenly he was between Hannah and the Russian's line of sight. "State your terms, Constantine," Lucius said, "or stop wasting my time." Constantine smiled. "Terms are simple. You step down, give territory to families who know how to hold it, and girl," he gestured vaguely, "girl goes back to her church, alive, unharmed. And if I refuse, then you both die. Tonight. Here." Constantine's smile widened, but not quick. "That would be mercy. And you showed mercy to Marchetti's men. Now we show you what mercy costs." Hannah's pulse hammered. She felt Lucius's hand move slightly behind him, close enough to touch her but not quite. A signal. "Stay ready." "I have a counteroffer," Lucius said calmly. "We don't negotiate. You're here, aren't you?" Lucius's voice turned cold, sharp. "That means you're willing to talk. Otherwise you'd have just killed me and taken what you wanted." Constantine's expression shifted. "You're right. We talk, but not because we fear you, because we enjoy watching you realize how far you've fallen." "Then enjoy this." Lucius pulled his phone from his pocket, held it up. The screen showed a live feed. Multiple angles. A warehouse, different from this one. Stacked crates. Armed guards. Constantine's warehouse. "That's..." Constantine's face went pale. "Your shipment. The one you moved into my territory 3 hours ago." Lucius's voice remained calm. "Currently surrounded by federal agents waiting for my signal." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Lucius tilted the phone. The feed showed men in tactical gear, FBI emblems visible. "One call. That's all it takes. Your entire operation gone. Your men arrested. Your family's reputation destroyed." Hannah's heart hammered. She'd never seen Lucius like this. Controlled fury wrapped in deadly calm. Constantine's hand moved toward his jacket. Instantly, 3 red dots appeared on his chest. Snipers. "I didn't come here weak," Lucius said quietly. "I came here strategic. There's a difference." The dots didn't move. Constantine's hand stilled. "You have 2 choices," Lucius continued. "Back down, or lose everything trying to prove a point." Silence stretched. Then Constantine laughed, harsh, surprised. "You magnificent bastard. You let us think you were vulnerable? I let you believe what you wanted to believe. And Marchetti is waiting at a different location, alone, realizing I outmaneuvered him too." Constantine studied Lucius, then nodded slowly. "We underestimated you. Most people do. But this..." Constantine gestured at Hannah. "This was real. Your weakness for her." Lucius's expression didn't change. "Yes." "Then we exploit that." Before Lucius could respond, 2 things happened simultaneously. The sniper's red dots vanished, and new headlights flooded the warehouse entrance. Marchetti had arrived, with twice as many men. Constantine smiled. "Looks like your strategic advantage just disappeared, DeRose." Lucius's hand found Hannah's, squeezed once. "Run," the gesture said. Hannah squeezed back. "No." Marchetti stepped out of his car, older, gray-haired, carrying authority like a weapon. "Interesting gathering," he said. "I was promised a private meeting, DeRose, not a convention." "Plans changed," Lucius replied. "Yes, they do that." Marchetti's eyes found Hannah. "Miss Clark, your father sends his regards." Hannah's blood went cold. "What does that mean?" "It means he's currently enjoying the hospitality of my associates. Very comfortable, very safe." Marchetti's smile was ice. "As long as you cooperate?" Lucius went rigid. "You took him," Hannah whispered. "Insurance." Marchetti shrugged. "Your boyfriend here likes strategy. So do I." "He's not—" "What he is," Marchetti interrupted, "is compromised, weak, distracted by a girl who doesn't belong in our world." His eyes shifted to Lucius. "So here's my strategic counteroffer. Walk away. Leave the girl. Let her father live. And maintain some dignity in your retreat." "Or," Lucius asked quietly, "or I kill everyone you care about, starting with her father, ending with her, while you watch." The words hung in the cold air. Hannah felt Lucius's hand tighten around hers. Constantine laughed. "Now, this is entertainment." Marchetti ignored him. "Decide, DeRose. Power or love, empire or girl. You can't have both." Lucius stood perfectly still. Hannah could feel the war happening inside him. Every instinct, every choice, every sacrifice colliding. "How long do I have?" Lucius asked. Marchetti checked his watch. 5 seconds. 4, 3, "I choose!" A gunshot cracked through the night. Hannah screamed, but Lucius was still standing. Marchetti wasn't. Marchetti crumpled to the ground. Not dead, Hannah could see his chest rising, but bleeding from his shoulder. Men rushed forward. Chaos erupted in controlled bursts. Lucius pulled Hannah behind him in one fluid motion. "Who shot?" Constantine demanded. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, dark suit. Gun lowered but ready. "I did." Lucius's entire posture changed. "Marco." The man, Marco, nodded once. "Boss? I told you to stand down." "You did. I disagreed." Marco's eyes swept the scene. Marchetti broke protocol. He threatened directly instead of negotiating. That voids all agreements. Constantine watched with cold amusement. "Your own man disobeys you, DeRose. That's not strength." "No," Marco said quietly. "It's loyalty. There's a difference." He raised his hand. 12 more men materialized from the darkness, armed, positioned. Waiting. The balance shifted instantly. Constantine's smile faded. "You had backup." "Always," Lucius said. But the snipers disappeared. Changed positions. Lucius's voice remained calm. "I needed to see who'd move first. Thank you for clarifying." Marchetti groaned from the ground. His men surrounded him, applying pressure to the wound. "Take him," Lucius said. "Get him medical attention. Tell him when he recovers, we'll finish this conversation properly." Constantine studied Lucius. "You let him live." "Yes." "Even after he took the girl's father?" "The father's location will be provided within the hour." Lucius's eyes were cold. "Unharmed. Or this ends differently." One of Marchetti's men nodded. "Understood." They carried Marchetti away. Constantine lingered. "You played this perfectly." DeRose. "I played it honestly." "Same thing?" "Sometimes." Constantine glanced at Hannah, then back. "She really matters that much?" Lucius's hand found Hannah's again. "Yes." "Then you're more dangerous than I thought. Man with nothing to lose is predictable. Man protecting something?" Constantine smiled. "That man is lethal." He gestured to his men. They retreated to their cars. Within minutes, the warehouse was empty except for Lucius, Hannah, and Marco. Hannah's legs finally gave out. Lucius caught her before she hit the ground. "I've got you." "My father!" "Marco's tracking him now. We'll have his location in minutes." Marco was already on his phone. 3rd Street, Warehouse District, 2 guards. Father's unharmed." "Get him out," Lucius said. "Take him somewhere safe. Somewhere Marchetti can't reach." "And after?" Lucius looked at Hannah. "After he gets to decide if he wants my protection or his pride." Marco nodded and disappeared into the darkness. They drove in silence. Not to the penthouse, to somewhere else. A smaller building, less conspicuous. Safe house, Lucius called it. Inside, Hannah finally found her voice. "You knew they'd come." "I suspected." "All of it? The ambush? Marco, everything?" "Not everything." Lucius poured water into a glass, handed it to her. "But enough." Hannah's hands shook as she drank. "You let me think you were vulnerable. I was vulnerable. Am." His eyes held hers. "Because of you." "But you still had control." "Over the situation, not over what I felt watching Marchetti threaten you." His jaw tightened. That was new, terrifying. "Unacceptable." Hannah set the glass down. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For making you weak." Lucius crossed to her, stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back. "You didn't make me weak," he said quietly. "You made me realize that power without purpose is just noise, and you—" His hand lifted, cupped her face. "You became my purpose." Hannah's breath caught. "When?" "Somewhere between the bus station and the cafe, between watching you use humor as armor and standing beside me when you should have run." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "You're brave in ways I don't understand, and I don't want to lose that." "You won't." "I might, once you see what I'm about to do." "What do you mean?" Lucius pulled his phone out, showed her a message draft addressed to multiple contacts. "Territory restructure, DeRose operations, effective immediately." Hannah scanned the contents. Her eyes widened. "You're consolidating, pulling back from—" She looked up. "This is half your empire." "Yes." "You're giving it up?" "I'm choosing sustainability over expansion, quality over fear." His expression was steady. "I'm rebuilding the right way, even if it costs me everything I had. Because of me. Because of us." He took the phone back. "I can't protect you and maintain an empire built on violence, so I'm changing the foundation." Hannah's throat tightened. "What if people see it as weakness?" "Let them. I'd rather be weak with you than powerful alone." The confession broke something open in her chest. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You deserve better than this." Lucius's voice roughened. "You deserve someone without blood on his hands. Someone whose world doesn't include warehouses and contracts and men who threaten fathers. But I'm selfish enough to want you anyway." "Lucius?" "I'm not good, Hannah. I won't pretend to be. But I can be better. For you. Because of you." His hand slid to the back of her neck. "If you'll let me." Hannah reached up, covered his hand with hers. "I already did," she said. "The moment I got in your car." His eyes darkened. "That was survival." "No, that was choice." She stepped closer. "And I'm choosing you again, right now, knowing exactly what it costs, what you've cost yourself. You might regret—" "I won't." "Hannah." She rose on her toes, pressed her forehead against his. "I won't," she repeated. "Because you're the only person who's ever made me feel like I'm worth more than what I can give. Worth protecting. Worth choosing." Her voice cracked. "Worth loving." Lucius went completely still. "Is that what this is?" he asked quietly. "Love? I don't know what else to call it." His hand tightened against her neck. "I've never done this before. Neither have I. I don't know how to do it without destroying something." "Then don't destroy me." Hannah pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "Just stay." The word hung between them. Simple, impossible, perfect. Lucius stared at her, at this woman who'd walked into his world freezing and afraid, and somehow made him want to be someone different, someone better, someone hers. "If I stay," he said slowly, carefully, "there's no going back. My world becomes yours, my enemies, my choices. Everything." "I know. You'll never be completely safe." "I don't need safe. I need honest." His mouth curved slightly. "You're asking for forever from a man who doesn't believe in it. I'm asking if you want to try." Lucius's eyes searched hers, looking for doubt, hesitation. Any reason to let her go before this became irreversible. He found nothing but certainty. "One question," he said finally. "Okay?" His hand slid from her neck to her jaw, holding her like something precious, breakable. His. "If you stay?" His voice dropped. "There is no exit. No changing your mind when it gets hard. No running when you realize what staying with me really means." Hannah's heart hammered. "Is that the question?" "No." His thumb brushed her lower lip. "The question is, knowing that, knowing me, do you still choose this?" The weight of it pressed between them. Forever. Danger. A man who'd rebuilt his empire just to keep her safe. Hannah should have hesitated, should have asked for time, should have done the smart, logical thing. Instead, she answered immediately. Yes. 3 weeks later, snow fell again. Hannah stood at the window of Lucius's penthouse, their penthouse now, watching the city disappear beneath white. The same kind of night that had changed everything. Behind her, Lucius moved through the space with familiar precision, coffee brewing, reports reviewed, the quiet machinery of a restructured empire running on new principles, fewer territories, more legitimate operations, alliances built on respect instead of fear. It was costing him exactly what he'd predicted. Constantine made another move, Lucius said, not looking up from his tablet, testing the eastern boundary. And? Marco handled it. No bloodshed, just relocation. Hannah turned. "Does it bother you? Letting someone else handle threats?" "Sometimes." He finally looked at her. "But I'm learning to delegate what I don't need to control personally." "That's very evolved of you." His mouth curved. "Don't sound so surprised." She crossed to him, leaned against the counter. "How's my father?" "Safe. Settled, still refusing to speak to me directly." The wound was still fresh, her father's choices, his pride, the chasm between what he'd preached and what he'd done. Hannah had visited him twice. Both conversations had been careful, painful, honest. He'd apologized. She'd forgiven him, but trust would take longer to rebuild. "He asked about you," Lucius continued, "wanted to know if you were happy. What did you tell him?" "That happiness isn't binary, but you're safe, and choosing to stay." His eyes held hers, which is close enough. Hannah smiled despite herself. "You're terrible at emotional reassurance. I'm aware, and yet somehow it works." "Does it?" She moved closer, close enough to feel his warmth. "Yes." Lucius set the tablet down. His hands found her waist, deliberate, careful, like he was still learning the shape of gentle. "The Marchetti contract was officially dissolved yesterday," he said quietly. "Your father's debt cleared through alternative channels. You're free." Hannah's breath caught. Free. Legally, financially, completely. The weight she'd been carrying for weeks, the constant awareness of danger circling, suddenly lifted. "And you?" she asked. "Are you free?" "From what?" "From obligation. You kept me safe. Cleared my father's debt. You fulfilled every promise." She held his gaze. "So I'm asking, do you want me to stay because you have to protect me? Or because you want to?" Lucius studied her face. "You already know the answer." "I want to hear you say it." His hands tightened slightly at her waist. "I want you to stay. Not because of debt or obligation or guilt. Because every morning I wake up and the first thing I think is, she's still here." Hannah's throat tightened. "And that's enough?" "It's everything." She rose on her toes, kissed him, soft, brief, deliberate. When she pulled back, his eyes had darkened. "Careful," he murmured. "I'm still learning restraint." "Maybe I don't want you restrained." "Hannah, I'm not fragile, Lucius. I'm not going to break because you stopped treating me like something borrowed." His jaw tightened. You're not borrowed. Then what am I? The question hung between them. Lucius's hand moved to her face, cupped her cheek with a gentleness that contradicted everything he was. Mine, he said simply. If you'll let me claim that. Hannah's heart stumbled. Yes. Even knowing what that means? My world, my choices, my enemies becoming yours? Even knowing all of that? You're certain? Instead of answering, Hannah pulled his tablet toward her, opened a new message, typed 3 words. I'm staying. Permanently. She sent it to her landlord. Her job. The church coordinator position she'd held for 6 years. Lucius stared at the screen. You just chose. Hannah met his eyes. Fully, completely, no exit strategy. Something shifted in his expression. Wonder, maybe. Or relief. You didn't have to do that, he said quietly. Yes, I did. Because you need to know I'm not waiting for rescue. Not planning escape routes. Not treating this like temporary shelter. She took his hand. I'm here, Lucius, for whatever comes next. His fingers threaded through hers. It won't always be easy. I know. People will judge you, question your choices, wonder why the preacher's daughter chose a man like me. Let them wonder. Hannah, I love you. The words came easily. True. I know you're not ready to say it back. I know you don't trust the concept, but I'm saying it anyway because you need to hear it. I love you, not the version of you that's perfectly safe or morally uncomplicated, the actual you, dangerous, controlled, still learning how to be gentle. Lucius stared at her. You're impossible. I'm honest. Same thing, apparently. Hannah smiled. Did you just make a joke? I'm evolving. Very. He pulled her closer, pressed his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this. Love. Permanence. Neither do I, Hannah admitted, so we'll figure it out together. His breath ghosted against her lips. Together. Yes. No exit. None. Even when it's hard. Especially then. Lucius kissed her. Slow, deliberate, nothing restrained about it. Hannah melted into him, into the certainty of his hands and the warmth of his mouth, and the absolute conviction that this, them, was right. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were darker, vulnerable in a way she'd rarely seen. I can't promise perfect, he said quietly. I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for real. Then you have it. All of it. Everything I am. His hand slid to the back of her neck. Even the parts I don't understand yet. Hannah smiled. That's all I wanted. Outside, snow continued falling. Quiet. Relentless. Beautiful. Lucius glanced toward the window, then back at her. Come with me, he said. Where? You'll see. They drove through the city in comfortable silence. Hannah watched the familiar streets pass, transformed by snow into something clean and new. Lucius's hand rested on her thigh, casual and possessive in equal measure. When he finally stopped, Hannah's breath caught. The bus station, empty, snow-covered, exactly like the night they'd met. Lucius turned off the engine. Wait here. He stepped out, walked around to her side, opened the door with the same deliberate precision he'd used 3 weeks ago. Hannah looked up at him. What are we doing here? Rewriting the memory. He extended his hand. The first time, you got in because you had no choice. Cold, stranded, desperate. Hannah took his hand, stepped out into the snow. And now? She asked. Lucius pulled her close. His eyes held hers, dark, steady, certain. Now you get in because you choose to, because you want to, because this, he gestured between them, this isn't about rescue anymore. Hannah's chest tightened. What is it about? Partnership. Permanence. His voice dropped. Love, apparently. Her eyes widened. Did you just say it? Yes. He cupped her face. I love you, Hannah Clark. I don't know when it happened. Probably somewhere between the sarcasm and the bravery and the way you looked at me like I was worth saving, but it happened, and I'm not taking it back. Hannah laughed, breathless, disbelieving, completely certain. You're full of surprises. I'm learning from you. Good teacher? The best. She reached up, kissed him beneath falling snow at a bus station that had witnessed both their beginning and their choice to stay. When they finally pulled apart, Lucius led her back to the car, opened the passenger door again. So, he said quietly, knowing everything you know, choosing everything you're choosing. His eyes searched hers. Will you get in? Hannah looked at him, at this man who'd opened a car door for a freezing stranger and somehow become her home. She smiled. Always. She slid into the passenger seat. Lucius closed the door gently, walked around, got in beside her. And as they pulled away from the station, together, chosen, permanent, Hannah realized something. She'd spent her whole life waiting for rescue, but Lucius hadn't rescued her. He'd just opened the door, and she'd walked through it, all on her own. The end, or perhaps the beginning,